小田汽车节点工厂就做咱老百姓用着踏实的节点。在咱高密开汽车节点工厂，就要做老百姓用的踏实、用的住的节点。有人问为什么不把厂子开在村来，还不是想为了少花点钱，把钱都用在正儿八经的地方，省下来的成本全部都拉在材料和做工上了。节点用料实在，做工扎实，这不比什么都强。要是你想买汽车节点，看着咱。你算算能省多少啊？咱用的原料没有那些虚头巴脑的，就是实实在在的好材料，随便看。以前咱不会配抖音，现在也得学着去配。在高密要是实在不知道上哪里去能找着靠谱的源头工厂，可以瞅瞅，心里就有数了。
1954年，55名被俘的志愿军战士选择独自前往中立国巴西，他们放弃了回到中国大陆，放弃了和家中的亲人团聚，自行去到那个遥远且陌生的新大陆。1956年2月，里约热内卢码头55个中国男人站在南半球烈日下，手里攥着20公向良田3年安家费的承诺书，可眼前只有望不到边的亚马逊雨林巨树，要几个人合抱，毒蚊子随时要人命。这些男人里，最大的32岁，最小的才19岁。他们大多是朝鲜战场上的普通士兵，有的是农民子弟，有的是工人家庭出身，参军前甚至没出过省。1951年到1953年，他们在朝鲜战场的某次战役中被俘，先后被关押在美军主导的战俘营里。战俘营里的日子不好过，语言不通，物资匮乏，更难熬的是对未来的迷茫。停战协定签署后，战俘面临3个选择：回到中国大陆，去台湾，或是前往中立国。为什么偏偏选了巴西？这背后没有那么多背叛的狗血戏码，更多是现实的无奈。当时部分战俘对回国后的处境心存顾虑，而台湾方面的招募条件并不诱人。正巧巴西政府那会儿在全球招募农业劳动力，开出的20公顷良田、3年安家费条件，对这些常年打仗、渴望安稳生活的战士来说，诱惑力实在太大。他们中没人去过巴西，甚至不知道亚马逊雨林是什么概念，只凭着一张承诺书就赌上了一辈子，攥着承诺书的手都在冒汗。有人试着向接待的巴西官员询问良田在哪儿，得到的回应是跟着向导走。雨林深处就是没有工具，没有住所，甚至没有足够的食物。55个人只能砍倒小树，搭起简易棚子，白天顶着40度高温开荒，晚上还要提防毒蛇和野兽。毒蚊子叮咬的包又红又肿，有人感染后发烧不退，只能靠同行战友采来的草药勉强缓解。所谓的安家费只发了第1个月的，后续就没了下文。追问起来，对方只说等开荒有收成再补。他们都是战场上拼过命的人，骨子里有股韧劲，没有锄头就用刺刀挖地，没有种子就用仅有的积蓄从附近小镇购买。几个人一组轮流守夜，怕野兽偷袭，也怕迷路。有个叫王卫国的战士，原本是机枪手，在战俘营里断了一根手指，开荒时只能用手掌按住锄头柄发力，手心磨出的血泡破了又结，最后变成厚厚的老茧。还有19岁的李小虎，参军时瞒着父母，现在站在雨林里，夜里偷偷摸出贴身藏着的全家福，照片都被汗水泡得发皱，没人知道他们当时有多想家。有老兵回忆，每逢中秋、春节，大家就围着篝火沉默，有人会哼起家乡的小调，唱着唱着就哭了。他们试着给家里写信，可地址早就模糊，信件要么石沉大海，要么被退回。有个战士的信被退回时，信封上写着查无此人。他拿着信封坐了一夜，第2天还是照样扛着锄头去开荒。既然选了这条路，就只能硬着头皮走下去。开荒的第3年，他们终于种出了第1批玉米和木薯可。20公顷良田的承诺始终没兑现，实际分到的土地不足1半，还都是贫瘠的山地。有人去找巴西政府理论，却被以开荒进度不达标为由驳回。这时候他们才明白，所谓的优待不过是巴西政府招募劳动力的噱头，但他们没有退路，只能在这片陌生的土地上扎下根来。后来的日子里，他们互相扶持，有的娶了当地的印第安姑娘，有的联合起来办起了小型农场。他们教当地人种水稻， 当地人教他们识别雨林里的可食用植物，语言不通就靠手势比划，慢慢形成了一个小小的华人聚居点。上世纪70年代，随着中美关系缓和，有战士通过香港的亲戚联系上了国内的家人，可此时父母早已离世，妻子也改嫁他人，只剩下无尽的遗憾。这些战士的选择放在当时的历史背景下，不该被简单贴上背叛的标签。他们是战争的受害者，被俘后失去了人身自由，选择前往巴西，更多是出于对安稳生活的渴望，是被现实条件所迫。他们在亚马逊雨林里吃尽了苦头，靠着自己的双手生存下来，没有给祖国丢脸，更没有做出危害国家利益的事儿。历史从来不是非黑即白的，我们不能站在现在的角度，用道德绑架去评判几十年前那些身处绝境的人。他们曾经为了保家卫国走上战场，被俘后又在异国他乡艰难求生，这份坚韧和无奈值得被理解和尊重，也请为这些英雄留一朵花，致敬这份迟来却格外厚重的荣光，向英雄们致敬。
战斗中，冯增敏带领全连202位战士弃械投降。战后，通过中越双方交换战俘，回到国内，被送上了军事法庭，判处10年监禁。当被问到为何投降时，他只说了4个字：1979年2月17日，为了给越南一个教训，我国打响了自卫反击战。我国采用牛刀杀鸡策略，一路大刀阔斧，短短时间内就打到了越南重镇河内。目的达成后，我军于3月4日宣布回撤。冯增敏所在的50军150师448团担任掩护前线部队安全回撤任务。上级要求他们以汽车和摩托化的方式沿班英公路往回撤，但150师师部工作组为了扩大战果，并没有按照上级要求执行，而是一头扎进了越北丛林中，沿途搜剿越军残留以及物资。3月11日中午，448团行进至高平省班英南部朗登地区时，殊不知越军332团已在此埋伏多时。由于对地形不熟悉，且使用的地图是30年代由英法等国军队绘制，队伍中多数都是初上战场的新兵，没有及时发现敌人，队伍直直地进入了敌人的伏击圈。一时间，枪炮声、叫喊声响彻整个山谷，部队被打散了，伤亡惨重。2营紧急呼叫团部支援，但不幸的是，赶来支援的1连和8连同样遭到了敌人的伏击。当2营再次呼叫团部支援时，团部只得让他们自行组织突围。8连指导员冯增敏带着战士们激战了3天3夜，最终弹尽粮绝。此时越军搞起了心理战，他们不断向我方战士们喊话。身为指导员的冯增敏心里也逐渐开始动摇，最终他选择了带着剩下的202个战士主动投降。被俘后，他们遭到了敌人的各种毒打，并不断对他们进行心理战术。最终，冯增敏他们经不住心理和身体的双重折磨，在越军的安排下，通过电台不断向我方战士们喊话，宣扬越军各种优抚政策。战争结束后，中越双方交换了战俘，冯增敏和其他被俘的人员回到了国内。作为军人，被俘是耻辱，带着200多人主动投降更是可耻行为。冯增敏被送上了军事法庭，在牢狱中度过了10年。1989年，冯增敏出狱了，迎接他的是亲戚朋友异样的眼光。当被问及为何会带着战士们弃械投降时，他表示当时是无奈之举。对于冯增敏的投降，外界有2种看法，一种是从生命的角度出发，很多人认为战士们多数都是20来岁的孩子，在荣誉和生命之间，生命永远至上。另外一种则认为作为军人，被俘是一种耻辱，主动投降就更是耻辱中的耻辱，可以被俘，但是绝不能主动投降。杨靖宇将军曾经说过，假如每个中国人遇到这种情况都投降了，那还有中国吗？大将难免阵前亡，军人就应战死沙场，宁死不降。这是我们人民军队不同于西方军队的铁纪律。虽然当时情况特殊，也不能成为投降的借口，只有严明的纪律和崇高的信仰才是作战胜利的保障，也只有这样的军队才能所向披靡。
I disagree that the liberty we've given up is essential. I disagree that the safety we have purchased is temporary. And most importantly of all, I disagree with this value system that will place liberty above everything else at all costs. Thank you, Mr. President, for that introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd be interested to know, does anyone in this chamber have a particular objection to wearing their seatbelt? Or to passing through a metal detector before they get on a plane? Or to having to pass a driving test before they're allowed to take control of a 1.5-ton car on a 6-lane motorway? Personally, I don't have objections to any of those. I don't have objections to any of those day-to-day limitations on my liberty for the sake not only of my safety, but the safety of others. In the past year, of course, we've all been asked to make even greater sacrifices to our liberty for the sake of all of our safety, for the sake of curbing the pandemic over the last 18 months. On side proposition, I do not intend to mitigate those sacrifices that we've made. I believe that they were significant sacrifices, staying at our houses for months at a time, obeying social distancing regulations, not being able to see our family or our friends or attend our places of education. A number of people seek to bemoan those restrictions. They seek to claim them as a tragedy. I disagree. I think we ought to celebrate that we as a nation, that we on the globe, across it, were able to make those sacrifices for the sake of our safety. Benjamin Franklin famously stated in 1755 that those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. I disagree. I disagree that the liberty we've given up is essential. I disagree that the safety we have purchased is temporary. And most importantly of all, I disagree with this value system that will place liberty above everything else at all costs. I have two arguments to make to you today. Firstly, I will argue that safety is a prerequisite of liberty, that liberty itself becomes a meaningless concept without some guarantee of our basic safety. And secondly, beyond that principled claim, I seek to provide you with a comparative of what society looks like when we prioritise liberty and what society looks like when we prioritise safety. I believe that prioritisation of safety is preferable in every case. Indeed, I hope to show not only that we ought to choose safety over liberty, but every single one of you, before you even stepped foot in the chamber today, have already made that choice. However, before that, it falls upon me to introduce the speakers for the opposition side. Speaking first is Ananya Chowdhury, history and economics student at Pembroke College and secretary of the Oxford Union. I admit I was surprised when I heard Ananya was speaking on the opposition of this debate. As someone who spent 3 months of her summer interning at an investment bank and the last month working for the Oxford Union, I didn't think she was someone who prioritised her liberty particularly highly. Following her is the Right Honourable Lord Sumption OBE. I can only hope for the sake of my bedtime that his speech isn't quite as long as his name. As a former Supreme Court Justice, barrister and author, he's also spoken at length about the legality and morality of government lockdown restrictions. I can think of few people more qualified to speak on this motion. He's followed by Professor Carol Sikora, whose medical qualifications are far too many for me to list. He's an oncologist and indeed one of our leading authorities on cancer. He's also Professor of Medicine at Buckingham University and founder and medical director at Rutherford Health. Concluding the opposition side is Luke Johnson, Luke Johnson. He's an alumnus of Magdalen College, Oxford, and provides the somewhat unlikely answer to the pub quiz question, what is it that connects Pizza Express, Channel 4, the Institute of Cancer Research and the Royal Opera? The answer is, of course, that he served as chairman of all these organisations, which I hope provides you with some clue as to the extraordinary diversity and success of his career. Mr. President, these are your speakers, and they are most welcome. We not only follow laws against physical violence, we follow laws on trespassing, we follow laws against theft. We agree that electrical plants should probably be fenced off, that pharmaceutical companies should trial their drugs before they're put on the market, that we probably shouldn't dump chemical waste in our rivers. Why? I think there are two reasons. The first is inherent within liberty itself. The Oxford English Dictionary defines liberty as the condition of being able to act without hindrance or restraint, the faculty or power to do as one likes. It becomes obvious with that definition that it inherently entails some restriction on liberty. Because what if I want to do is something that will restrain someone else? We cannot both maintain absolute liberty in that situation. Absolute liberty is something that is realizable only, no thank you, in a society of one. I won't go into depth on definitions of liberty. It might surprise some of you, but I'm not a PPEist. It's rare in the Oxford Union. So I'll leave that one to them. But I think it is apparent that our definition of liberty does not extend as far as the right to impede the liberty of others. Indeed, I will go on to my second reason, which is that I believe safety is a prerequisite of liberty. Let's look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. On the most basic level are our physiological needs, our security, our access to food, to medical care, to shelter. Above that comes safety. That isn't just a physical need, it's a psychological one. It's knowing that at any moment around the corner, we won't be subject to an assault on our lives. It's about knowing that we are safe. It's quite a few layers above that before Maslow comes to freedom. When it comes to health and safety, restrictions, including restrictions that protect us from infectious diseases, safety doesn't just mean sort of general protection from minor threats. It means protection from disabling illness and protection from death. Because after all, what is a greater enemy to liberty than death? What is the greatest restriction of freedom possible? It's the ending of our lives. At the moment, in Oxford, there's an increased rise of spiking in our clubs. Personally, the fear that causes me before I enter into a bar, not just the fear as to my physical safety, but my fear as to an ability to enjoy that event, means that I will be prepared to be subject to some restrictions on my liberty. I'd happily have my pockets or my bag searched before I'm allowed to enter into the club, because I recognise that in that situation I would prefer my safety to be prioritised above some abstract conception of my liberty. Let's look at gun control. I would rather in America be subject to checks and regulations and restrictions on my ability to own firearms than live in society in which I am under constant fear of being attacked by gunmen on the loose. When it comes to infectious disease, I think part of the reason this debate becomes so contentious is that we add possessive pronouns into this motion. It's not just, would you give up liberty for safety? It's, would you give up your liberty for someone else's safety? We want to believe it's a question of individual choices. Why can't I take the precautions I think necessary to protect me from danger? That's because it is imperative to note that it is impossible to ensure safety on an exclusively individual level. There isn't a personal choice to be made between liberty and safety, because you cannot choose by yourself to protect yourself. In the case of gun control, choosing not to keep a gun in my house makes me slightly safer, but it doesn't protect me from everyone else who's allowed to keep guns in their house. In exactly the same respect, I might choose to shield myself from a pandemic, but if I live in a society where no one else is making similar choices, where no one else is choosing to shield themselves, then I am at constant risk of being infected. I still need to access essential services, I still need to access food and medical care. If I live in a society where infection rates are skyrocketing, then my access to those essential services automatically puts me at a risk of exposure to a potentially fatal disease. I can't just choose to shield myself if the rest of society is making reckless choices with my safety. Let's compare Sweden and Norway in the pandemic. Sweden chose not to carry out a lockdown, to keep schools and public spaces and workplaces open. Norway, by contrast, didn't. Sweden was hailed at the time as a sort of paragon of liberty, as the victor of Europe. They showed that it was possible to conduct an approach to the pandemic that meant that we didn't have to give up our freedom. Except, what happened? Between March and June 2020, Sweden suffered 15 times the casualties related to COVID-19 that Norway did. Sweden was not the success story. Nearly 15,000 people in Sweden never got to enjoy that liberty. And many more lost it because of the debilitating effects of long-term chronic illness, or because they failed to access other medical services in the height of a raging pandemic. I think safety's become a joke word. We associate it with not allowing under 18-year-olds to buy craft scissors or annoying health and safety restrictions in our workplaces. But it's not a joke word. It's about people's lives. I don't believe recklessly endangering people's lives is acceptable. It's estimated that in just 11 countries in Western Europe have they chosen not to pass lockdown restrictions, that 3.1 million excess lives would have been lost as a result of COVID. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you leave the chamber today, when you're asked to pick a side in this debate, to walk through one of the two sides of the door, I ask you, is 3.1 million lives the price you would have been willing to pay for your abstract sense of liberty? My answer to that is no, and for that reason, I beg you to propose. Thank you.